Hello everybody and welcome to ABE Live. I'm Sylvain Chauvet, Communication Manager at ABE, and today for this new microbiology rendezvous we are going to talk about the brand new product developed and made here at ABE. It's the new generation of gravimetric dilutor, the DILUWEL XL. And to talk about it, I'm today with Nastasia. Hello Nastasia.
Hello Sylvain, good afternoon everyone. So my name is Nastasia and I am Product Manager at Alliance Bioexpertise. I manage the sample preparation and the air sampling range.
So how do you feel today for this new presentation?
I'm excited to start.
I think we are, it's the same for all of us, and now we are ready to start. Let's have a look at the program of the day. So first we will talk about gravimetric dilutions in general. Secondly, we will have a short break with a short video shot at a media manufacturer. And finally, we will of course talk about the DILUWEL XL, all the advantages, and we will try, as promised, to set a new world record. Just before to start, I will remind you the idea of this live. I will ask some questions to Nastasia. I have my little cards here. But the idea is you can also ask questions. For that you have like a chat box just next to the video. You just have to send your questions and we will be able to answer it at any time. So feel free to ask and don't hesitate. And one last thing, we have a subscriber counter here in the room. It will make a little noise and go up each time someone hits the subscribe button just below the video. Nastasia, let's set a goal for this live.
Well, last week we did the same presentation but only for the French market. Today we are all gathered around YouTube and we are more than last week. So let's say that we can reach a new challenge of 10 new subscribers.
Yeah, good challenge. We trust you to succeed. And now I think we are really ready to start. And Nastasia, my first question is, what is a gravimetric dilution?
Well, here in this expression you have two notions. The most important one will be dilution. So what it is, the principle is to add a quantity of diluent to a sample according a predefined ratio. And then you have gravimetric. This simply means that we will do it with a balance.
So you talk about samples. What kind of samples are being diluted?
There is a large variety of samples and it depends on the sector concerned. Of course, the first thought is for food industry because everything we have in our plates has been tested before, but we will find surface samplings done with wipes, for example, in breeding industries. We can also think about the cosmetic with a soap or makeup. And we also find some in the health sector with the pharma industry and the medical devices.
And what will be the purpose of dilutions?
Well, the idea is to be able to analyze the presence or not of some microorganisms inside the samples. It's very simple. For example, a producer, a manufacturer, let's say meat or ready meals, for example, before putting his products on the market for the consumers, he will have to test it with a microbiology laboratory. So he will take a sample representative of the production batch and they will ship it to the lab. The lab will subdivide it into 10 or 25 grams samples according to what they're looking for. They will add the diluents, and the diluent is like a booster for the growth of the microorganisms and will allow the lab to find them or not in the samples.
So you talk about tests before a product is put on the market, so something quite important. What are the standards that concern this application?
Well, there are many of them. The first one I have in mind is the ISO 6887 version 2017. This one will define the protocol to follow to realize dilution in the food microbiology. So what does it tell us? Basically, it will tell us that we need to weight the sample on a balance with a precision, a tolerance of 5%. Then we will have to add 9 times the weight of the sample with the diluent. And this diluent must be poured with a 2% plus or minus 2% precision. There is a small line also which is quite interesting. It talks about dehydrated samples, and it says that to avoid any osmotic shock, the good practice is to add first the diluent and then add the sample.
Are there any other standards?
Yeah, I'm also thinking about the ISO 7218 version 2007. This one defines the notion of gravimetric dilutor and how to use it. So it says basically it's a balance equipped with a distribution device, a pump. It is programmable and it has to be installed on stable bench. The machine has to be, we have to level this machine, and very important for the rest of the show, it has to be installed away from any source of vibrations.
So today we will of course talk about automation, but are some laboratories still performing dilutions manually?
Yeah, of course, it's very common. In this case, you have a balance with a holder on it and a bag inside. So you add the sample, you weight it with the balance, and then you will add the diluent. Two solutions, whether you use a pre-dosed bottle, whether you use a bigger bottle to pour by hand directly into the bag. So you do it little by little in order to reach the precision required by the norm. And the fact is that with this method you have several risks. You have a lot of manipulation, so the first risk would be cross-contamination. The more the user manipulates the thing, the more you have. Then it will be spills and maybe the fall also of the holder, because you do it little by little, it's not easy. And the last one is also the traceability, which is completely manual. So the dilution is pretty time consuming and is risky as well for the operator than for the analysis.
Well, that's a lot of negative things. In the other case, what will automation bring to this step of dilution?
Well, the first thing would be standardization. It means that you would be able to repeat the same process exactly the same way from one user to another. So you will improve the quality of the analysis. The second one goes through the automation of the distribution. You reduce actually the number of manipulations required to do the dilution. So you reduce the risks of musculoskeletal disorders for the operators, you reduce the risk of cross-contamination for the analysis, and you will also go faster because of course a pump will distribute a lot faster than when we do it manually. Also, the traceability will be completely automated, so it's the end of the bench note that you can maybe lose or can be difficult to read. Here all information will be available directly on a ticket or on the computer. In the end, it's the time the analysis takes and the quality of it you're going to improve.
Okay, so all these benefits offered by the automation, we will see them just in the second part of this live with the DILUWEL XL. But just before that, let's see, as promised, a short video of a media manufacturer in Portugal, a company named Freelabo. I know they are watching us, so we can say hello to them. In fact, this laboratory shows the automation to produce the media. So let's have a look at this and see you in a few minutes.
Bom dia! Hi! Today we're in Porto, northern Portugal. We are going to visit a famous customer in the Portuguese microbiology, company named Freelabo. Let's go!
Bom dia, bem-vindos à Freelabo em Portugal. Freelabo is a Portuguese company in Porto dedicated to commercialize lab products such as equipment and consumables for microbiology, cell culture and molecular biology. In the beginning, we only import products from our suppliers, but then we started to produce our own products.
In my daily basis, I use ABA equipment to prepare culture media batches. I use the media well to do the sterilization cycle, Then for the distribution, I use the DILUWEL if I'm making plates, or I use the polywell if I'm making tubes or bottles.
We start with bottles for water sampling, and then we installed 3 years ago a laboratory for production of ready-to-use plates and flasks and tubes. And Allianz Bioexpertise were with us from early beginning.
My first year was not as hard as I thought it would be, and ABE equipment helped with that because all of the equipment is very simple and practical. So in general, I think that I had an easy adaptation.
Nowadays, to fight this pandemic, we started to produce also swabs for viral transport media. Come to visit us.
So thanks again, obrigado to the whole team of Freelabo for this great testimonial. We will stay on the topics of automation because we are going to talk now about the DILUWEL. Okay, black screen. What's happening? And no, wasn't a technical problem, but the reveal of the DILUWEL XL. So now it's the big moment. Nastasia, can you present this new ABE device?
Yes, and here it is, the DILUWEL XL. So what it is composed of? You have in front of you the balance with the front panel control. Behind it there is a display tower. This one is adjustable in height, with a distribution arm, which is fully automatized, motorized. And you also have color status indicator on the screen for the status of the analysis in the end. Beside, you have the pump. So it's a large volume pump. It can go up to 6 liters per minute flow, actually. And it is completely deported. And this is where I make the link with the ISO 7218, which told us at the beginning that we should avoid any source of vibration near the dilutor. And what is the first source of vibration on a dilutor? It's the pump. So with our experience we had on the DILUWEL standard, which already has the remote pumps, we decided to do the same here. So you can put it on the bench or below or on a couch, for example, and it will warranty a very, very stable weighting system, and also will free the space around the machine. Then, at last but not least, there is a touchpad. This one is for the programmation and other stuff we're going to see together.
Just a little break. I see that we have 6 more subscribers, so just 4 more and the challenge is done. So we count on you once again.
Keep on.
And once again, if you have any questions, just really don't hesitate to ask. It's the good time to do it. So Nastasia, as you said, there is the remote pump, which is the same idea as the standard model. But yeah, the design of this device is like completely different compared to what we have seen so far. Can you explain why?
Yeah, it is very different, and this is for a good reason. It's because it's the first dilutor of the market that has been thought in the first position for large volumes. So here you see the big bag holder. It's for the 4 liters bag. So you put the bag inside, you press on the side to open it. You can tear, you will add the sample, press the go button, distribution will be made, and in the end you can take off the bag. Here I will take off the holder completely to show you the tray of the balance. And this tray is interesting because it gives the possibility to use any type of bottles, flasks, bags also, and it is particularly true because you can adjust the height of the distribution tower. So here, for example, I have this smaller story where in the US they use a lot of a popcorn bowl where they put the bag inside and then put it on the tray to perform the dilution.
And I'm on my left side, I see that we have a different device.
But I'm sorry, Sylvain, this one we will keep it for the end of the show.
Okay, no problem. So if I understand well, it's a device dedicated to large volumes.
Not at all.
Okay.
This configuration, with this configuration, you will be able to perform also precisely 10 grams and 20 grams dilutions, 1 to 10. Obviously, you have a specific holder for these applications, which has been designed for the use under cabinets. So don't forget that you have a window in front of you, and it's difficult to raise the arm inside. So you can pull the holder towards you and incline it a little bit, to add the sample. So you will earn a few centimeters. Then it goes back to position, and you can start the dilution. And as an example, a 25 grams dilution 1 to 10 will take around 8 seconds.
Okay. Other topic, here the benches are quite large with a lot of space. If in my lab I have smaller benches with less space, can the DILUWEL XL be adapted to that case?
Yeah, this is one of the good news with the DILUWEL XL, is that it is configurable to your lab, to your installation. So here we have what we call the portrait mode because of the position of the balance. But if you have smaller benches, for example, you can go for the landscape mode, which is more conventional, I would say. The idea behind that is that we will adapt the DILUWEL XL according to your lab, whether it is for small spaces or for a specific workflow.
Okay. Now let's talk about the touchpad. What is it for?
So the touchpad, when you arrive in the morning and you switch on the units to start working, you will arrive on this screen, okay? And from here you will have access to all the basic functions of dilutor. Here you will go into the programs menu, you will be able to select the program you need, and in 2 clicks basically you will be able to start working.
So we just have seen programs. Can the user create new ones?
Yeah, of course, and it goes exactly in the same menu as we just saw. So let's do it. Programs, I press the plus symbol, and here it's questions you will need to answer to create the program. The first one being the type of program you want to perform. So the first of the 3 available is the dilution. This is what we've been talking about since the beginning of the show. You add the amount of diluent to a sample according a ratio. Typically, if I weight a 25 gram sample, I will add 225 ml of diluent. But we also have the possibility to do a dosage. A dosage is whatever the weight of the sample you're having, you will always add the same amount of diluent. Could be always 225 ml, for example. And the third one will be the powder mode. And the powder mode, it links the topic to what we said earlier with the standards, with the ISO 6887 about dehydrated samples. Here the idea will be to add part or the whole quantity of diluent before adding the sample, basically. So for the example, let's do a powder mode. So of course you can adjust the name of the program. Then you have the initial volume. This is the part of diluent you will need to add before adding the sample. So very usually it's between 80 and 100%. Then you have the factor, the dilution factor. The diluent, if you do the traceability of the diluent, you will be able to select it in the list of diluent. Speed pump, of course. And then 2 very interesting ones. It's the minimum sample weight and the maximum sample weight. These are 2 values that will set a range where the operator will need to to add the sample for this type of dilution or this type of analysis.
Okay, it's in fact it's to secure the sample rigging for the user.
Yeah, exactly, because the user will only be able to start the dilution when the sample will be in this range, actually. Then you have the tolerance. This is the final one, the 2% asked by the norm. And if I validate my program, I'd like you to have a look at the distribution arm. When I will select my powder program, you will see the position. It goes backward. Here, when you're manipulating powders, so you have your holder and you open and add the sample here. But the thing with powder is that it's very volatile. So when the distribution nozzle goes backward, the idea is to protect himself from these clouds, let's say, and to avoid any risk of cross-contamination.
Okay, so we saw that in 2 clicks you can start to work. Is there any other options to optimize the routine?
Yeah, well, imagine you arrive in the morning, you switch on the unit, you have your holder, you put your bag, you open the bag, and here you can activate the auto tear. It means that the dilutor will recognize the presence of the bag and tear by himself automatically. Then you have the next step. The next step is auto start. So your bag is opened, you add the sample, and once you are in the range we saw previously, the machine will automatically, after a few seconds, start the dilution. Once again, the idea is to simplify as much as possible the manipulations.
So basically, when you arrive in the morning, you select your program in 2 clicks, you put your bag, you put your sample, and then you don't need to touch the device anymore.
Yeah, exactly. If you activate these 2 options, you don't touch it anymore.
So either you choose this automated method, but you can also use the buttons on the front.
Yeah, this control panel is if you want to be, let's say, more free of your manipulation. So you won't activate the 2 options and you will use it directly. So here you have buttons. The blue is for the tear, the green is to stop the dilution, and the red is to interrupt it. This panel is ambidextrous, and if, like me, you are left-handed, it really changed the game on a day-to-day basis. Then this is also an industrial class panel. It means that it is completely hermetic, so it's a real advantage when it comes to cleaning. And speaking about cleaning, I would like to add that in the balance there is no electronic at all. So everything is inside the pump, the intelligence is inside the pump. So here the machine is completely protected in case of spillage during the cleaning, for example.
So once again, with just 2 clicks, it's possible to work. But if I need a daily check in my lab protocol, can the DILUWEL XL do this?
Yeah, and the other good news is that it will be automatized completely. So the idea is that you will have 4 preset weights and you will select them to start the verification, the daily check sequence. At that moment, the dilutor will ask you one by one to put the weights on the balance, and the value he will compare it to what he has in his programmation. What is possible to do during the programmation? So you have 4 weights. Each of them you can set up the parameters as you wish. You have 3 fields to fill in. The first one is the real weight, like 500 grams, for example. The second one will be the metrological ID if you're using calibrated weights. And the third one would be the tolerance. So if I have a 500 grams weight, I can tolerate plus or minus 0.3 grams, for example. So the machine will compare the weight it has actually on the balance to this information to give compliant or a non-compliant result. In the end of the sequence, you will have a PDF report that will be exportable through the USB key. So it is composed, as you see here. The first part is the ID of the operator, the machine, and also the moment of the daily check, date and time. Then you have the details for all the masses or the weights that has been tested, and you have the validation part in the end.
Okay, so we can stop just a moment because I think the challenge is done. 11 more subscribers, so thank you very much for that. Thank you to you. And we have also a question. It's Lars who said, is there a LIMS connection available? If yes, what information can be transferred to the LIMS?
Okay, thank you, Lars, for this question. This is actually an answer I was about to give just after. The LIMS, yes, of course, you can connect it to any LIMS system. And the information, we will develop them just a little bit later on, but you will basically get all the information about daily checks, calibrations, and also the cycles. We will see it afterward.
So yes, it was my question after. In terms of traceability, can we get other types of data with the DILUWEL XL?
Yeah, okay, so it's for you, Lars. So here we saw the daily checks, and the calibration is working exactly the same. You will have up to 5 points to calibrate. And in the end of the sequence, you will get the report you see here. So the same first part is for the identification, operator, date, time, and the machine. Then you will have the details of the weights that has been tested, and then the validation, part. These weights, so it's up to 5 points. The first one is always 0. This one is fixed in the machine, I would say. And then you have 4 points that you can adjust according to your protocol. So 2 information to fill in at that moment, the real weight, like, okay, 500 grams again, and then the ID, the metrological ID of this weight, so you can have a full metrological chain behind your calibration.
Okay, another question. Is the LIMS connection bidirectional or only to send info from the dilutor to LIMS?
Okay, so when we talk about LIMS, we have different ways to work. Some are bidirectional, some are not, like you said. This depends on what you have in the lab, and then we adapt. We have a lot of information, all the information from the machine that can be sent back, so this is like monodirectional, okay? And there is also the possibility for the DILUWEL XL to obey the LIMS system. This is the bidirectional. So it's just a question of setup when we install the machine and when we do the computer engineering connection, I would say, to allow whether the monodirectional or the bidirectional.
Okay, and one other questions, but I think once again it was my question too. How do you trace every sample name, and is possible to have barcode reader to do that?
You anticipate all our show. In this case, maybe we can move on to the next question directly, and we will answer it at the same time.
So, what about the cycle data?
Yep. So, of course, you can extract also the cycle data. So most of them are accessible directly on the screen. So first you have the program with all its information, all its parameters. Then you can also have users if you select it and if you do the traceability of the user. For diluent, it's the same. If you do the traceability, so you will have, of course, the name, but you will also be able to fill in the batch number of the day. Okay, so let's say up. Okay, validate. And here there is another field for the sample number that you can also fill in. These two, the diluent and the sample number, they can be filled manually as I did, or with a barcode reader. And one more step for the cycle traceability, it's the end of the distribution of the dilution. You will extract also the real weight that you had on the balance. You will extract the percentage of accuracy and the compliance or not of the dilution.
Okay, so we see that we can get a full traceability. Now, how we extract this data?
Okay, so to extract it, there are several ways. The first one will be the ticket printer, of course. The second one, we talked about it already, it's the USB key. So you have it on the side of the touchpad when you do the manipulation, and the file will automatically extract itself. And then you also have the lab page. So what's the lab page? It's an access on your computer to all information of your DILUWEL XL. Basically, you will have access to all daily checks, to all calibrations, and to all cycles since its installation on your bench. And the good thing also about the lab page is that all information cannot be modified and cannot be erased.
And what about the colors? We can see some different colors in the document.
Yeah, there is a system where you see the dilutions of the day or the historical, and for each of them at the first glance you will see green or red. It means that dilution was okay or was not. It's a confirmation system, quickly I would say.
Okay. We have another question, it's more like a suggestion. Please talk to us about the connection with the DILUWEL 30.
I don't know, maybe we should wait for the end of the show, don't you think?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, so you will see it in the end.
So yeah, so far we've talked about the device in many aspects, but we've also promised a world record, so I think now it's the good time to do it, and for that we will switch just now. So now, Nastasia, you are next to the device which is going to try to beat this speed record. Is it ready to start?
Yeah, actually, on the DILUWEL XL here, we already have a program. It's a dilution 1 to 10, and we already have a sample in it, a sample of 376.6 grams. So the machine is ready. I am ready. Are you ready?
Yes, you can start on my mark, and I have the timer just here. So 3, 2, 1, go.
So here we have the configuration I was talking about earlier. We have the pump actually under the bench. So the idea is to have a completely, empty bench, where you will have all the space you need for your own manipulation and not for the machine itself. And actually you see here it's the same for the tablets. The tablet is remote, so you can have it on the side of the machine, you can have it on the bench, you can have it out of the hood or out of the cabinet, or simply on arm like this. And we're going to see the results of the dilution just to show you here the color indicators. They're green, so we are good, and we have a precision of 0.98%. So very good result. So what's the timer?
Yeah, thanks to the technical guy for my head on the little screen. The time is 36 seconds. Can you describe this time?
Well, today, if you compare this result to the current solution we have on the market, such a manipulation would take between, let's say, 1 minute and 3 minutes. So we have 36 seconds. I think here this is really a game changer for the lab.
Okay, I'm really sorry, I have my phone, so it's not the good time. Sorry, I'm online.
Hello,
it's
sir.
not the
I'm working for the Guinness
Okay.
World Records. I just watched the performance of your device and it's amazing. I'm adding it as the world's fastest dilutor right now.
Okay, Guinness Book. Wow, now I think we can officially say that the DILUWEL XL is the fastest gravimetric dilutor on the market. Well done, DILUWEL XL. So I want to go back on this record time. You had also the possibility to do a bet for this time, and you were many to participate. And here I have the person. There is 4 persons which are who are really close to the. It's like a perfect 36 seconds. So you have Paul Harrison from UK, Toril Hagen from Norway, Sarah Aronskobos from Spain, and Agnes Gersbauer from Austria. So well done to you.
Bravo!
So you will win a Backteki. The Backteki is the microbiology game made by ABE. It's the same as the game Who Is It, but with bacteria. So well done once again. Nastasia, now let's talk about this device. I think it's time now. Why this one is once again different from the others?
Yeah, so just before, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I really wanted us to go through different topics before we see this configuration. So we talked about disorders, musculoskeletal disorders, sorry. We talked about large volumes, and we talked about the use under a cabinet. which led us to topics like ergonomy, like a machine being easy to use, and also the speed of distribution. Here you have a synthesis of all these advantages. So you have a specific system with pinches on the side, which will allow you to open the bag at the beginning of the manipulation. And then you have a container here, which will hold the bag, the 4-liter bag, full of course, in the end of the dilution. So don't forget that we are under a laminar floor, under a hood. It's not easy to raise the arms inside, particularly when you have to deal with the 4-liter bags at arm's length. So with this system, you will just take off the bag as you usually do and close it with your regular system, okay? And you will use the container to transport the sample with the sample, yeah, basically. So here my elbow stays alongside my body with a 90 degrees angle, and I need no specific strength to take out the sample. The container, you can stack them, direction incubator or direction blenders.
Okay. So we have seen the device in many different configurations. Now, can you tell us about all the advantages of this new device, the DILUWEL XL?
Okay, yes I can, but it's going to be a long answer. The first would be ergonomy, of course. So it's the first dilutor that has been thought in the first place for large volume. So whether it is with the specific workflow I showed you today or with the at-site tower display, it has been thought to give comfort to the user. It's also a good configuration to use it under a hood. It was the application that was thought for it. It is modular, so tablets, touchpad and pump are completely remote. It means that if you put the pump under the bench, if you put it out of the cabinet, you can save a lot of space around the machine that will be dedicated to your manipulation and not to the machine. Then you have the speed. Of course, we saw today a real recall, I would say, and this is really a game changer for the laboratory. We are on a productivity tool. We almost divided the time such a dilution takes by 4. Then you have traceability. Everything is automatized. You have access to the full traceability of your cycles, calibrations, daily checks since the installation through LIMS system as you required, but also through ticket printer, USB key or the lab page. And then you have different mode and options. I mean, if you want to simplify the manipulation, you can use the auto tear and the auto start. For the modes, you have dilution, dosage and powder. And something we didn't talk about up to now is the access right. So this is an option you can activate and which will allow the operator to register in the machine with a password before starting his the daily routine.
Okay. Once again, if you have some questions, it's still time to ask, so feel free. One last thing, and I think it's the MediaWell moment. What about the source of the diluent?
Okay, so the DILUWEL XL itself is delivered with just a simple set of tubing. So you can connect it to any source of diluent. But of course the combo, the best combo, the one which got us the record today is the use of the DILUWEL XL with a media preparator from the MediaWell range.
Okay, but with such a fast dispensing, a MediaWell like 10 liters like this one or 30 liters like this one will get empty very quickly.
Yeah, probably we will have to think about a bigger capacity.
Okay, and is it something that is coming up at ABE?
Well, Sylvain, you got the point. Actually, the family MediaWell is growing up and we are welcoming a new MediaWell 50 liters at ABE. So for the users of the MediaWell 30 liter today, it's a very good news because it's exactly the same footprint as this one, but the only difference is that the vessel is deeper.
Okay. So another good news for today. This live is coming to the end. So if you have questions, you have just a little bit of time. Otherwise, you can of course send your question on our website alliancebioexpertise.com. Our international team is of course available to answer you at any time. And also I want to precise something. This room is also available for you. You can book a private session and we can discuss about our solutions to answer your question related to your needs and your lab and your application. So once again, feel free to ask and don't hesitate.
Yeah, and I would like to add something. Thank you to all our distributors, our partners around the world who are looking at us. In the weeks and the days to come, you will have the replay link that will be sent to you by Aurélien or Quentin. You will also have access to more paper marketing stuff around the DILUWEL XL, so you can spread the word.
Okay. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you all of you for your time, and see you soon for another online demonstration. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.